Afternoon. My name is Chloe Davies, and welcome to Empower Cafe. I am wearing two hats today, so I am growth marketing partner for the Unmistakable, and I'm also the founder of It Takes a Village Collective, which is a global ecosystem for Black women in Adland. At the Unmistakable, we spend our time helping organisations close the gap between how they think the world works and how it actually does. We call that organisational lag. And what we're seeing is that growth increasingly depends on an organization's ability to stay relevant to its customers, employees, and communities. And relevance is built on understanding people, which is why today's conversation feels so important, so vital. And I really wanted to do it, so thank you very much. So in a world that is shaped by rapid change, increasing pressure, and advancing technology, we're going to explore why respect isn't just a cultural value, but increasingly a business advantage. If you're wondering why this stage might look a little different to the pictures behind, unfortunately, the incredible Lola Bakare couldn't be with us. Can is canning, and she had a baggage issue. I hope at some point I get a little message from her, but if we could just give Lola a round of applause. She's with us in spirit. I am, however, not disappointed. I am joined by some incredibly fabulous people who I'm going to ask to introduce themselves. So starting over on my far right, Rose Bentley, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Rose Bentley. I'm Chief Client Officer at Propeller. Propeller, who are very proud partners of Empower Cafe, PR and marketing, growth marketing business based in London and the US.
Dom.
Hi guys, I'm Dom Hyams, Global Client Director at Purple Goat. Purple Goat is the world's only disability-led, inclusion-focused marketing agency, and we hold hands with brands, should I say, through creating the most progressive, forward-thinking, and dynamic social-first content out there. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm very warm, so excuse the sweat dripping off my face.
And last but by no means least, Samuel.
Hi, I'm Samuel Money, and I used to be a reformed marketer, but now I'm a marketing reformer because business should serve humanity and not vice versa. That's the drive, the mission that led me to be co-founder and co-CEO of Purpose Hive. We are a company who helps others, helps brands, people, and organizations use and leverage purpose as a means to growth, as a means of driving revenue, driving positive impact, and also commercial business results at the same time. We do training, we do workshops, we actually did a session this morning here. We also provide other sort of support services to help people through various solutions. And I'm excited to be here and also hot, but just determined to wear this fit all day.
I mean, power to you and also the shoes. This is also, I'm stealing this from Satch, but this is also our canniversary.
Oh, it is
because we were on a panel here last year. So I'm going to start with you. And you've just told us a bit about Purpose Hive. Mm-hmm. Thank you. That was not part of your intro. But Purpose Hive sits at the intersection of purpose, culture, and community. And so when we talk about respect, we often think of it as a personal value or a leadership trait. But increasingly, it feels like respect is becoming a business advantage. So from your perspective, and when we talked about this in the briefing, let's set the right tone. Why is that happening? And what are organizations missing when they treat respect as something nice to have rather than something fundamental?
It was exciting to be part of this, but also just, wait a minute, let's just unpack or think a bit more about the core of this and core of respect. And speaking with my co-CEO, co-founder, Tusef, it was like, wait, shouldn't this always be there? And got into the sort of the topic or the subject of integrity. Shouldn't just respect and integrity be basic human fundamentals that are core to an organization, core to people, core to how people live and think? And then the definition of respect that I'm seeing online is actually having a positive relationship or positive assumption or positive associations with someone else. So respect is inherently a positive emotion, a positive sentiment, a positive mindset, and a positive philosophy. And so, yes, we should all have this as a default setting It should be built in, not bolted on to our organizations, our thinking, our work, our relationships. And a short story, quick story. I was sat in the audience here for an earlier session talking to someone from an agency, and one of their team members who was based in the US had left the organization. And the US, after 10 years, and the organization, they weren't going to do anything when they were leaving. So she literally went to the CFO, flew from the UK to the US to take that person out, to role model what it means to treat an employee who's given you 10 years of service respectfully. And that happened like an hour ago. And I'm thinking, wait, so it's great to know that human beings, she's living in another country, but no, we're not going to let them leave after that like that. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to tell you I did it, and I'm going to show you that this is what matters for our culture. This is important for our business. And I was like, oh, can I tell your story? Did I ask for permission? I don't think I actually asked for permission before I told the story, but that was like 2 hours ago, literally sat in the crowd, but I didn't say the name or anything. But for me, it was so powerful and inspiring. Like, humanity wins. Humanity for the win.
Amazing. And well done for editing people. It wasn't me. Rose, Samuel has obviously framed respect as something that's much deeper than cultural and given a real in-person example. As Chief Client Officer, you're responsible for relationships not only just with clients, with partners, but also with your teams that support them globally. So we often talk about respect as a value, but where do you see it creating tangible business outcomes? What changes when respect is embedded in the way organizations lead, communicate, and ultimately build relationships?
Well, I would actually like to start by saying that I'm sitting next to one of our clients.
Hello.
Very much. Hello there. Very much a business that leads with purpose. I want to talk about clients, and I also want to talk about teams. But to start with clients, I want to use a phrase inspired by Cindy that you probably weren't expecting me to say, which is that I feel a lot of it I've learned from intimacy coaching. And I'll explain what I mean about that. Many of you will have heard of intimacy coaching in relation to helping actors in a drama have realistic sex on screen in a way that makes them both feel comfortable. But what actually intimacy training is more than that, and I experienced this before Christmas when I was in a play in my spare time, passes for my spare time, and playing part of a couple. We had to hate each other at the start of the play, but we had to reconcile at the end. But it had to be believable. So intimacy coaching was a part of that. And I realized that so many of the things that we were talking about bear parallels with our clients. If you think about respect for, are things actually going right or wrong? And can we talk about it? Not being afraid to have the honest conversations when things go awry. Sometimes relationships at their worst become quite transactional, and you're getting to kind of hit the output rather than stepping back and having an honest conversation with the client about where could this actually work better, understanding what the often unspoken agenda is as well, and how can we help them achieve that. And for me, the way to make this a commercial imperative as well as respect just being the human thing to do is that only when you have that honesty and you have that respect and you have that intimacy with clients, can you then move forward and grow with them? Because you have trust, you're delivering you're delivering more than you set out to do. But also, I think a cornerstone of that is that you have respect back from clients. That's equally as important. It's not often spoken about. We really motor and shine when we're in those relationships where that respect is mutual. And I think the second point about teams, I just find it incredible with all the narrative that's happened since rollback from DE&I, since conversations that have started fluttering up about, do we still need an Equality Act? And the reason for it is, well, we can have a meritocracy now, but the point is that inclusion is meritocracy. And it's only also about not simply making sure that your teams are representing all parts of society and all parts of strength and skill, but that you are also allowing them into the decisions that you want to make as a business. I mean, we sometimes have to make difficult decisions, even things like what's the bonus going to be this year, rather than that being something that we say, right, well, this is it. It's a discussion. We're having the respect of our people, because for us, it's just important that we're a business that's about reputation and growth, and that means individual reputation and growth as well.
I mean, I know it wasn't intentional, but especially when you're talking about bonus and signaling that, and a lot of times when employees, talent is thinking about how is my work ethic rewarded by my business. I came from a place that gave our employees a bonus. I worked at John Lewis, so incredible that Propeller is doing that. I can't leave, but I'm like, good to know. Dom, I'd love to bring you in because Purple Goat is not only a client, but its work is built around helping brands better understand and connect with the disabled audience, disabled community. Where do you see the link between respect and commercial success most clearly? And where do organizations still confuse visibility with genuine respect? And I guess you and I talked about this before we came on stage, and I said, how do you feel about the questions? And Dom said, ask me anything, the spicier the better. So I'm encouraging you to be as spicy as you want to be in your answer.
Thank you. I think for me, when you think about respect, and particularly the protected characteristic of disability, you could say that there are many lenses to look through. I think that on one hand, we've got a society where still there's a lot of stigma around disability. You could call that disrespect, you could call it ignorance. And so on a human level, I think that at Purple Goat, every single day we are working with our clients to try and educate them, to try and drive their confidence, to try and drive their understanding. But in turn, as I say, on a human level, we're probably also building their respect. And we're building their understanding of intersectional, nuanced conversations so they can actually act better out in the wild world. And I hope we do that, and that's absolutely our ambition. I think on the flip side, we obviously, as an agency, have to show up. We know that, our clients are going to have certain expectations of what a disability-led marketing agency is going to do. And we know we have to smash that out the water. We know we have to go above and beyond. We know we have to deliver better. But at the end of that kind of journey, and to the point that everyone's said so far, there is commercial drivers behind all of this that mean this isn't a kind of happy, clappy, nice to have conversation. There is a group of consumers that you have never engaged with. You don't understand them, you don't know how big they are, and you've never thought about representing them in your ads. So for us, it's about almost instilling that excitement in clients to come on the journey, to really understand the art of the possible and to do it with creativity at the same time. And then the result is going to be a win-win-win for absolutely everybody.
Amazing, thank you. If Lola was here, she'd have talked about, the importance of designing systems. That's very much her wheelhouse, and especially around people and people rather expecting people to adapt the systems and their systems that you need to build. So Don, I'm going to stay with you for a bit. From an accessibility and inclusion perspective, what does people first innovation actually mean? What does it look like? And how are, in the world of AI and embracing AI at speed, I don't think we can go any time now without talking about AI, but in the context of where it lives through your world, through your lens, please give me that example.
Yeah, I think for us as an agency, we've got 50% plus lived experience of disability. And so there absolutely is a learning journey for us every single day of how we can get the best out of our people and how we can structure ourselves to deliver the best for our clients. That isn't going to be the same for every client, and that isn't going to be the same for every member of the team. And so being nimble, being lean, being willing to iterate and develop and self-reflect at every turn is absolutely fundamental to getting the best out of everyone. So taking everyone's ideas, listening to everyone's ideas, not thinking that you've got it right and patting yourself on the back every day, I think is really, really fundamental to that. In terms of the, implementation and the use of AI, I mean, there's been many a conversation I've had where I've said, this is, as an accessibility aid, an incredible thing that we start to integrate and utilize in workflows. And there's so many instances of AI's usage as an accessibility tool that, so many in our team and beyond are now bringing into there every day. What I would say, though, and you'll hear it from many people, is the 50, 60 years of media portrayal of disability is something that we can't ignore. When we're feeding things into the AI, we're obviously topping it up, but what it's been based on, what we've had as our kind of backbone of what AI is sort of utilizing, particularly when it comes to that kind of creative representation lens, that isn't reality. In the talk before, we were talking about stereotypes, and fundamentally, disability, when we're plugging it into an AI to spit out an image, you're still seeing two wheelchair users on a date. If you say person on a date, in a photograph, it isn't actually representing the nuanced intersectional reality of life. And so we have to have that human lens still to bring that to the table, because the AI is not there, and it probably will never be there in the same way as that human touch enabling us to do that.
Amazing. It's like you knew where I was segueing. Thanks, Dom. We've talked about marketing, technology, and accessibility. Samuel, I'd love to zoom out a little bit. If AI increasingly gives us access to information, efficiency, and scale, what becomes more important about human judgment, trust, and connection? And what should leaders really be paying attention to?
The AI conversation, I again have to give credit to Seth, who's actually the expression. I was listening to an earlier session, and they were talking about with humans in the loop as a construct, and with respectfully, a counter or an alternative perspective that Tusef is going to talk about in 2 hours is about humans at the center. And I kind of recoil when I hear humans in the loop as an expression, because it makes me feel like I'm wired in and plugged into a system and being controlled. Whereas humans at the center, us people, all of us as people being represented in every way, shape, or form, our nationalities, our physiques, our languages, our characteristics, is so vital and important. So I think, coming back to the point, I think humans at the center and the language of AI is basically almost imposing it on us and on society. And there are characteristics such as, when it comes to creativity, so for example, when you think about marketing, advertising, creative industries, that when it comes to us and AI, humans should always know that they have that supreme power, that supreme ability. We bring imagination, we bring intuition, we bring nuance, we bring taste, and we bring the ultimate of, what's the other one I'm thinking? Innovation, there's another word I'm missing, but it's the aspect of all of these things the machine can't do and the machine won't do. And if someone tells you it does it, it's actually not true. So let's grasp our humanity. And also, I feel that as people in world of work and using the technology, we should use our voices, use our power to challenge, to question, not to reject AI, but to make sure that we know that, hang on a minute, let's have a conversation about it. How is it supporting our workflow? How is it helping us? How is it helping me be successful? Not mandatory, you have to use it, you have to go and do, and make sure that there's almost like a consideration of how it helps me in my life, how it helps me as a person. I mean, I could go on and go off on a rant, but I want to bring it back to, I feel that the humans at the center, if folks in this room can sort of grab that concept, I feel that reframes even the thinking about AI. It's like, wait, we're first. We need to be in charge. We need to make the decisions throughout the process. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Amazing. I didn't say I was going to do this, but I think I just, really quickly, how many people in the audience use AI as a tool? I think that kind of answers the question of, is it actually going to steal your jobs, or just do you use it as a tool? I'm very proud of myself for asking that one. Rose, we are sat I've just realised you're living in the bridge of two worlds on purpose. So we're sat here, year 3, Empower Cafe, and that has been the incredible power force of, she doesn't know that I'm going to do this and I can't see where she is, but the brainchild of the incredible Louise Watson, and then
She's there.
she is, I'm like, she's here somewhere. And then Karen Stacey at Wackle. Rose, you also live in not only both communities, but as Propeller, backing an idea like Empower and putting the respect and the understanding of your people first. What did that really mean for you and the team, Kieran, Jodie, and the board when Lou came and said, look, here's the idea, and then Karen came and said, look, I'll back it. Like, what was some of that thinking?
Oh, there's a long story to tell here, but a very interesting
I was
one.
there.
I think when we were talking about this last week, we were talking about what do businesses get wrong, and what could they get right in terms of respect. I think businesses can go wrong when there's too much command and control, and they go right when there's a generosity to really let ideas thrive and grow. Now, actually, it's 3 years of Empower, but the story started 4 years ago. And Louise had been newly promoted, and our owner at the time said, you should do a thing. You should do a thing. And so I can still remember the conversation. Louise came to me and said, I know what my thing is.
Yeah.
I really have a strong point of view around being a parent, what that means to come back to work, and what that means for women in tech, that was Lou's domain.
Yeah.
So she went and talked with Women in Programmatic, and we had, 4 years ago at Cannes, we had Tech Terrace, which was right round, it wasn't on the Crozet, it wasn't an official Cannes Line event, but it was a week-long series of panels and fireside chats. And so much was learnt from that. And out of that came fantastic conversations with Cannes Line, fantastic conversations. And Wackle were involved then as well, I have to say, but in a much more formal way. And then Karen, absolutely, bless her heart, really talk about, you put your money where your mouth is. She backed that. But we also wanted to make sure that we were backing what we thought was an incredible idea, and to put us behind that as well and make sure that we were also putting our money where our mouth was and believing in Lou. It wasn't a question of just supporting, but really believing that this is something that would be that would be such an enhancement of the Cannes Line experience, this idea of a safe place for women when they came here. But also, for Propeller, this was something that was highlighting us in the best possible way and kind of getting to the root of our own purpose. So that first year was incredible, but still a lot of lessons to be learnt. And at any point, it would have been easy to say, well, this is getting quite big now and it's quite tough, and we're not always going to have backing. But we did believe in it. We talked a lot. We analysed it a lot. We supported, we gave the kind of financial advice at the right time, had the tough conversations. But at the heart of it, it is having the generosity to let go and to let your people fly with an idea and help grow. And I think that is the key to businesses that get this kind of thing right, and where you can let people have their head, but with a lot of guardrails. Not that there weren't some guardrails, but
Can I just chime in? Because this is like my third time at Cannes, and there's a perception of what it's like in the experience. And what really inspired me last year was my experience at the Wackle Empower Cafe, and I just kept hanging out. And it was like, I'm not. I actually have. I was supposed to be, but I was be somewhere else. But I just felt good.
Yeah.
And that is the feeling you get when you are in a space which is purposeful and it's been designed in a way that you can feel the difference, you can feel the energy, and the energy that people bring, and also the energy that you get. And so I wanted to just give a shout out to creating that space, because when I tell people, I'm speaking here or come to Empower Cafe, you don't need a badge, they're perplexed. It's like, wait, what? No, you are welcome. Yeah, no, that's all you need. Just go and be part of it. And in this space where there's exclusive this and exclusive, and not to denigrate other people, I think, isn't that the ultimate in respect and showing that that integrity and that gratitude and that just to other human beings by saying, you just come along and just, check it out. And so that is, so I think disruptive by normalizing that everyone is included and welcome, and that's the default. And some people are like, wait, what's the catch? There is no catch.
There is no catch. I mean, I was lucky enough in year 4 to sit in to watch Karen and Louise and Rose all scheme on Google Beach when they were talking about what they wanted Empower Cafe to become next, and then to look at what it is now. And to your point of everybody feeling welcome, the space is incredible. It really feels like this is one of the best, if not the best place to be during Cannes Lions, is a testament to the whole team. So thank you to everyone for actually putting their money where their mouth is.
Thank you. And I just want to say, it's kind of, just to quote Louise, it's the kind of the catchphrase for Empower. Of course you can.
Of course you can. Of course you can. I want to give us one final question, and then I'm being good. We've got time for questions. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We've talked about it in practice. We've talked about it in people. I mean, Rose, you've given us a perfect example. The same for you in terms of people. And when we were talking about sort of briefing call, we were all getting very excited about the people that do this right and well, and also perhaps the people that don't get it always right but can learn from that. So I want to start, Rose, with you. You've given us Empower, so I now want a different one. But can you give me an example of a brand or a business, a person, an organization, or a movement that you think is getting it right? And who's building trust? What can we learn from them?
We have a lot of clients here at Cannes. I could pick many of them, but I want to talk about one in particular and why I think it's so interesting in the context of the conversation we're having this afternoon. And that is Dept, the tech marketing agency. Many of you will be going to their secret garden later this week. And what I find so fascinating about that business is it has grown seismically through many acquisitions. And normally you'd think growing through many acquisitions can be the absolute, the biggest casualty of that's going to be culture, and who actually withers away in that situation and who thrives. But what has been interesting is that Dimi Albers and his team, they have acquired businesses absolutely with a human first approach. And how can we make this business part of the family? What is it that we want, but also that we can share back? And you look at how that's grown, and you look at how the people in that who have been acquired, who are now leading that business with Dimi. And I think there've been something like 30 a lot of acquisitions. But there's this quite easy approach to everybody. It's kind of course you can. We want to make this collectively a better business. And you've got an integral part in that, and making them feel that that's really the case. So I think they seem to be getting it right, and I that's what I would really take from it.
Amazing. So we've got Dept. Dom?
I'm going to cheat and give you 3
Oh,
answers.
okay, go on then. Oh, you went too far with the spicy.
Number one, the obvious, someone like Apple is the gold standard, where we all look at and go, the product is more accessible than we ever know. The adverts are all the adverts that we wish we made. And the way that they move our culture forward is one that we can all kind of get behind and say, that's a sort of good kind of way to be thinking about our industry and how we want to move forward, I think. Number 2 is a brand that maybe 15 years ago I would say I'm never going to be working with them in my life, and that's Bupa. And the reason I say it is because I want people to acknowledge when they have been on a learning journey, and that's one that I've been on. I would have said that I would never kind of work with a brand like that probably in my life, and then we start to talk to them and we start to actually understand that because technology has evolved, because their understanding of the client has evolved, and because society has evolved, there are products, services, things that they want to do and people they want to engage with that, again, 15 years ago, they had no knowledge of and no interaction with. So both internally, externally, in their comms, in their teams, and their people, there is a a kind of mandate around accessibility and inclusion that's very deep rooted, that we're kind of at times like working with them on some parts of that. And it's been interesting and genuinely like looking to the future, quite exciting how they can serve more people and give them a better quality of life in what they do, but not in a way that's siloed and exclusive. Thirdly is this festival, you know, the Cannes Lion Film Festival, not Film Festival, Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity. And we know that it's not always the most accessible. We know it's not the most inclusive in many other places and spaces, but to not go, well, it just isn't, and to actually go, we are going to try and we are going to evolve, and it's going to be slow, it's going to be messy at times, but it's going in a direction. That to me is also something where there genuinely is a respect in that, and for me that I appreciate that, and again why we're open to like supporting and iterating and developing with them as well.
Yeah, definitely. As inclusion partner for Lion 2, you do the work. It's going to take a bit of time, but you build and hopefully it grows into something, and someone always has to go first. So brilliant. Samuel, you?
There's a brand I'm a huge fan of, wasn't really on my radar till the last sort of 12 months or so. I actually ran a session this morning talking about AXA, the insurance company, and the work that they've done. The campaign is called the 3 Words campaign, where they added "and domestic violence" to their insurance policies. And they've been doing work over a number of years to support people who are underserved. There's underfunding in the resources for people who have the unfortunate situation of being in domestic violence situation. Hundreds of thousands of people in France were in that situation, and there was just not enough resource to support them. So what they did was to introduce retrospectively the policy of and domestic violence within the home insurance policy. So you have to have a home insurance, 2.5 million people. Retrospectively, they added that clause, which meant that you could take advantage of it, and it was just there provided as a resource. And in the first, I believe, month, 130 people used it. Within the first 10 months, 1,300 people used it. And so it was, they really, I believe this is about the trust, integrity, and respect by going further to improve the product by actually not just thinking of a campaign to talk about it, but actually changing how they operated, putting all the systems in place so that if people did need it, it would actually work. They could get picked up, they could get taken to a safe space, they were given financial resources to actually feed themselves and look after themselves. They were given counselling and all the things that needed to be in place that you could argue wasn't their job, but yes, it became part of the solution that they put in place in this policy. Creatively, last year, I think they won like 12 Cannes Awards. Creative Brand of the Year. Their brand love they went from number 2 to number 1 in terms of brand reputation in their industry. So creatively winning awards, the human needs of protecting people, protecting their honoring and respecting their stakeholders by providing this support in their policies, 2.5 million people. And also the data shows that demand went up. New signings for insurance went up by 9%. So when we talk about purpose and profit being interdependent, and the fact that you can be human, you can be values driven, and you can meet the needs of people, but also drive your commercial success, that example for me is so powerful. And I have to be honest, as a guy, I'm a single guy, this aspect of life just wasn't on my radar. I didn't know about it, I wasn't thinking about it. But now I'm talking about it because they've inspired and educated me to recognize this issue, so that my privilege kept me ignorant. I'm now a bit more informed, and I have to be about being part of the solution for better. So telling the story is my role in trying to help be part of the solution. But it's a marketing story with creative excellence, with humans at the center of the solution, and also commercial success. So this is a great business story that I feel that brands can do, and us in this room can be inspired to at least have that story and tell that story. But it's all anchored in thinking about your community and stakeholders with respect. So these aren't just customers you're selling to. You're actually thinking about the people that you serve and serving them better.
Amazing. I mean, you're all very passionate. I thought we'd have time for questions. We don't. I'm going to give you 2 of mine. especially with the theme of putting people first. And two of our clients at the Unmistakables that I just absolutely adore working with, one of which is Green King. We've been working with them for a number of years, and they were really focused on what does inclusion mean for them as a business when the pub category is changing. What does it mean in modern Britain? You've got more people from more diverse backgrounds coming into pubs. You've got a younger generation who don't want to drink anymore. So what does the pub mean for them? And really thinking about also their frontline teams. They've got a workforce of over 40,000 people, so many different pubs around the country, and they all cater for different communities, different nuance. The work that we've been able to do with them has been incredible and really joy to see, and we've got some really exciting things coming up with them. And then lastly, the work that we've been doing with Macmillan, we got to work with them on their last campaign and really embed what does cancer care specifically through the lens of breast cancer look like when you're coming from more nuanced backgrounds? What does it look like for the Black and brown community, for the LGBTQ plus trans community, for elder women, for those who have less access, and really being able to get into the minutiae. We call them cultural confidence, culture makers, bringing them from different communities to be able to do that are just, for me, two examples of where both those brands are really focused on not only how do they put their internal people first, their frontline people first, but also when they are utilizing, I say utilizing, not normalizing, but when they utilize the human experience out loud, how are they thinking about that as a brand that then goes around the world? I did it. We are on time.
Well,
I'm
hey.
so pleased. Thank you so much. Give my panelists a massive round of applause. I really, really appreciate you. I want to say that they'll stick around for at least 5 to 10 minutes. I'm sorry we didn't get questions. Please do connect with them all on LinkedIn. You're not here just to listen. You're here to learn, to build, and to connect with new people. So connect with them too. Thank you and have a lovely evening.